Students, friends of BSc 6th semester, again I am here to discuss with you the input-output operations of C language. What we have discussed so far, we have discussed constants, variables, and the data types. Now input and output operations is an important operation of a C language. Say every C program takes some data as an input and print processed data as the output. I repeat here, every programming language you can say, or in particular a C program, every C program you can say take some data as the input and print the processed data as the output. So data, we have discussed data types, and that is useful now. The data can be provided to the variables. Data can be provided to the program variables in two ways. In first method or in first way, our first method is known as non-interactive method. Non-interactive method. And this method, which is known as non-interactive, in which we, the programmer or a computer user or a C language user, we, the user, assign the values to the variables. And this we have discussed already. We have discussed the types of variables and as declaring the variables and assigning the values to the variables in a proper format with its syntax. And this method of assigning the values to the variable is known as non-interactive method in a C program. In the second method, which is called as interactive method. Interactive method, the E method, in which the interactive input method, where the data supplied by the user of C language. In an interactive method, data is supplied by the user through a standard input device called as keyboard of a computer. This is interactive method. Data is supplied by the user through the standard input device, that is keyboard. This is actually carried out. The input values we are entering through the keyboard is carried out by an input statement, of the program. What happens here? One method is non-interactive method, that is already we assign some fixed values to the variable and that is been stored in memory location. It is called as non-interactive method. The other method is interactive method. The data is supplied by the user through the standard input device That is a keyboard here. Standard input device is a keyboard. This is actually carried out by an input statement of the program. You are entering the data through the keyboard, and that is carried out by the input statement of the program. So, in C language, say input statement here is a function. In C language, input statement is a function that allows the program to receive the data from the keyboard. So in C programming or in C language, what we do is the input statement is a function that allows the program to receive the data from the keyboard, and similarly, when the processed data is processed, and the processed data is to be displayed on the monitor as an output statement, and output statement is used in C program. An output statement is a function. My point here is, in C program, input statement is a function. So also output statement is a function that prints the processed data on the monitor, or that displays the processed data on the monitor. So here we have to discuss the topics to be covered here in this input output operation, or what is called as managing the input output operation or operations. What is to be covered here? Say input output functions. I have mentioned here input statement is a function. So also output statement is a function. We are entering the data by either interactive method or a non-interactive method through the keyboard. That is input, and the data entered into the machine or through the keyboard is carried out by the input statement. Input statement is a function. So also the processed data is to be displayed on the monitor, and that has to be brought out by output statement. So output statement is a function. Input statement is also a function. So let us go for input and output functions. Input and output functions. I will repeat this as input output, say output function. Or you can say functions. Well, I have mentioned somewhere during my discussion on C language that C is a structural language. Here I will make another statement. C programming or C language is a functional language. C is a functional language. Good statement to be remembered. C is a functional programming language. C, and therefore this C language do not have exclusively built-in functions to perform the basic input output operation. No doubt C is a functional programming language. Fine. But this language, it doesn't have exclusively built-in functions to perform the basic operations called as input-output operation. To perform these input-output operations, the question is, when there is no built-in functions in C language, though we call it as a functional language, there is no built-in functions to perform the input-output operation. The question is, then how does the input-output operations are performed? To perform the input-output operation, C provides what is called as library. C provides library functions. There are no input-output built-in functions to perform the input-output operation, but C language provides, or the input-output operations are operated through a C language library functions. This library of functions, you can say, library of functions, and this library is called standard input output library. But a point here is, to perform the input-output operations, there are no exclusively built-in functions in C language, though we call it is a functional programming language. Fine. The C language provides library of functions. It provides library of functions, and this library is called standard input output library. Normally it is denoted by STDIO, standard input output library. It is denoted by this, and this we write as header file. Header file containing such library functions is called, say here, stdio.h. This we have discussed as directive, or called as pre-processing statement. Pre-processing statement we have discussed in structure of a C language. Some of the standard input-output functions in C language, I'll write here, standard functions called as input-output functions, are in lowercase scanf. I'll write here this. This is definite meaning. We'll come to that. Say this is scanf, this is input, printf function, scanf function. Okay. Say then we have some formatted and unformatted, get char, thus say write put char, put char, thus say gets, thus say 5, 6, say puts. We will come across this when we write elaborately or number of programs we are making use of this some of the input output functions. Get ch 7, get ch 8, say get che. Thus these are some input output functions provided in the C language. Well, there are two important input output functions, and normally we write them as this. There are two types of input output functions. Input, I'll write it here, input output functions. Okay, what are these input output functions? There are first type, what is called as formatted here it is written I bar O, that means input output functions. I for input, O for output. Then we have the unformatted input output functions. We are discussing this, say, functions. To remind my students here, last year, if you see the 6th sem question paper, that is paper 2, I have framed one 10 marks answer on this topic, and that was the first time it has appeared for the exam, 10 marks. And whatever I am discussing, that becomes the answer for that question. Now, formatted input output functions. See, this formatted input output functions enables the user. You and me, we are all user of C language. The formatted input output functions enables the user to specify the type of data, and therefore it is called as formatted type of data. We have to provide type of data and the way in which it should be read or written out, and the way in which data should be read or written out. This is important statement here regarding formatted input output function. There will be formatted input, there will be formatted output function. Okay, so formatted input output functions help us to specify the type of data. In this, we have to specify the type of data and the way in which we should read. It should be read or written out. In other hand, what is called as unformatted functions, called as input output functions. On the other hand, unformatted input output functions do not specify the type of data. You need not specify the type of data, and you need not specify the way in which it should read or written out. I will give some here a table, formatted and unformatted input output, say statements or functions. Okay, I will write here type, this is, and say input functions, input functions, I'll write in short, output functions. Output function. Some examples here. Function. That is type means formatted. Formatted. It will have a proper format. We are discussing that in detail. So scanf, this parenthesis is must, left and right. Output formatted printed. Print, yeah. And we are using, every user of C language uses this. Unformatted statement. Unformatted statement, right? The type of statement is unformatted. We have getchar, G-E-T-C-H-A-R, getchar, this, putchar, C-H-A-R, this, gets, this, and say puts. These are two are unformatted statement, that is input functions or output, and these two are formatted input functions, scanf and printer. Let us go for formatted input. Let's go for formatted input. See, this C language provides a function called scanf. We are looking for formatted input. I'll write here first, formatted input. Say FOR, formatted input. Go through the old question paper and see this formatted input. We are discussing about the input function, that is formatted input function. Later on we will see unformatted input function. C language provides a function called scanf. To read the values of the variables in a C program. Scanf is used in C program to read the values of variables in C program. Already we have discussed variables, their types, how the values are assigned there and how they are declared. Now here, in case of input-output operations, we say the input to the computer, to the C program, is done by two methods. One is interactive, other one is non-interactive. Non-interactive already we have discussed, that is assigning the values to the variable with proper say syntax. Now non-interactive method, that is entering the values of the variables or data of the variables through the standard input device called as keyboard. C provides a scanf, a function called as input function, and this is used to read the values of the variable in C program through keyboard. Keep in mind. If somebody asks, can you explain scanf? Can you tell something about the scanf? Scanf is input, formatted input provided in C language to read the values of the variables in a program using keyboard. The scanf function is used to enter the values of numeric and non-numeric variables. Or scanf is used to enter the numeric and non-numeric characters and string type data. Scanf is used to enter, say, numeric, non-numeric, character and string type data. We have seen numeric data, non-numeric data, characters data and string type data. Right? And this is provided in header file, that is, we have written this stdio.h. It is included, the scanf, the operation of the scanf will be included, provided. This is included in our program, included in header file. This gives the standard input output IO header file. The general format of this formatted scanf statement, general format of, say, scanf input function, formatted input function is, I'll write, say, scanf here, this parenthesis, left parenthesis we have written, this is this, I can say, scanf double quote control string. Let us see what is this control string. Close this double quote, give a comma here, and then you write address, say, list, and close this parenthesis. Then we have delimiter here, that is semicolon. Now we'll see what is this scanf. Where? Just a minute. Where the control string. What is this control string? I must know, you must know about this control string. It is a sequence. Control string, it's nothing but sequence of one or more character group. It is sequence of one or more character group. Each character group is combination of the percent symbol. Each character group is a combination of the percent symbol and one of the conversion character. See, this is the format of scanf function, input function. It has two parts, control string and address list. We are speaking about the control string. Control string is nothing but it is a sequence of one or more character group, say, and it's a combination of this symbol, percent symbol, and one character, right? One character. This is a control string here. This control string specifies the type of values here. What it address list. What address list tells us? Address list specifies the address of memory location where the values of the input variable stored. Address list specifies the address of memory location where, say, values of the input variables are stored. Right? This is. Hope you got this. Scanf, right? Scanf is formatted input function. Its general format is given by this, and in the format we have the two things. One, in the double quote we write the control string, and second, it is address and it is enclosed in the parenthesis. Control string, it is a sequence of one or more character group, and that character group is a combination of a person symbol and one character group. We'll come to this character group. Okay, I will give the table of character group, and its conversion character group. What it is called as conversion character group. In the sense, I'm going to write, say, %d for a decimal integer and %f for a floating point number, and so on. Address list tells us about, it specifies the values of that variable to be stored in the memory location, and this is about the scanf. Now, there are certain rules governs the syntax of the scanf. This is the syntax of the scanf function called as input formatted input functions, and we are discussing the rules governing the syntax of the scanf function. Let's go for the rules governing the syntax of scanf function. I'll write here. There are 10 rules. Rules that governs syntax of scanf function, formatted input function.